Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Welcome back. I am Derek Mata.
And I'm Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. This week we are talking about some quintessential dad knowledge, and also just dude knowledge, which is Derek and I's take on doing things yourself versus hiring people.
Yeah, and what brought this about is today or yesterday I had to call the local, I don't know, they're kind of a do-it-all everything. They do AC, they do water
Handyman.
Yes, but it's a like big company.
Yeah.
Because I got an RO system, a water filtration system, and it just kind of started jacking up everything. My refrigerator went haywire, and haven't had an ice maker in months at this point. And I was like, I could never do this. Little tasks like this desk in front of me, I had the idea for. You and I kind of put this in, so I DIY'd this. But so obviously we're talking about the smaller scale things along with the bigger things like building a house. Back in our grandpappy's days, they would build a house for their family with their own bare hands. Now, I like to say I can build you a house, but let me tell you, I could not build you a house.
Man, I have a buddy who he tells this story. His grandfather came back from World War II, and there was some sort of, I mean, similar to the VA housing bill that we have now, but it was obviously a much better benefit during World War II. And him and his brother both fought in the war, and it was a certain allocation of money, right? It wasn't like you get reimbursed a percentage or anything. It was like you get 40 grand to buy a house or whatever the number is.
Back when you could buy a house of 40 grand.
Right. So him and his brother bought a decommissioned bank building. They combined their money, and instead of each of them buying a house, the two of them bought this bank building, and they disassembled it board by board, like demolished the whole thing, took it down, took the materials from the bank, built each of them a house, and built a third house and sold it to pay for all of the property tax on the houses that they bought.
For those of you listening on listening,
yeah,
holy
I'm
shit.
Like, that's the definition of the American dream, and also like just being a badass dude.
Holy
like that's the man dream. Like, I built this house out of a bank I took down with a crowbar, like piece for piece. But yeah, no, and it's I mean, that obviously we don't quite live in that world anymore. I mean, people still build their own houses, but it's really rare to see somebody literally build their house with their own two hands out of another house they took apart.
I'd say and I thought you were going to stop with they bought an old bank and they made it into a house. Like, I would love to do that at a bank, a fire station, a school.
Yeah,
like
convert something.
Exactly. April and I have talked about that, and kind of, hey, we should do this, but to actually be like, hey, I'm going to take it apart. You ever tried taking a pallet apart? Like, you get a pallet from Home Depot. Shit's impossible. Try taking a house apart. Can't do that shit anymore.
You're adorable, Derek.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, and so that there's
those
two
things
ends
break so easily.
There's two ends of the spectrum, right? I mean, there's the guys like my friend's badass grandfather and his brother who are and I mean, those guys are full on construction workers, right? They built their houses literally with their own two hands. And then you have the flip side of that, which is people who call their landlord to change a light bulb, right? And it's a huge spectrum, and
it really is.
I'd like to say no judgment, but if you call your landlord to change your light bulbs, I might judge you a little bit.
And on that same topic, and on that same note, though, like one of the things as men, we should say, and I'm sorry if somebody takes this the wrong way, I do apologize. You should know how to change your own oil. You should know how to change your own tire. It's simple. Like I was 100 pounds soaking wet in high school, and I could change my own tire. Like,
Well, I think there are some basic like and it obviously like we're talking about this from like a dad perspective, right? But
yes,
this is
we
honestly
are.
just a human perspective because this aspect of being a dad is just being a homekeeper, homemaker, breadwinner, whatever you want to call it, like person who takes care of their own shit, being an independent human. And like there are certain things that I agree that you should just know, right? But I also take for granted the fact that like I grew up with a very knowledgeable and experienced blue collar dad and came from, carpenters and engineers and contractors. And so like the example that I had growing up was, well, if something breaks, and I mean, add on top of that, we were poor. So the example that
I
I
was gonna
had
hit on
growing
that
up
one next.
was when something breaks, we fix it ourselves because one, we know how, and two, we can't afford to hire somebody. And so I grew up, holding the flashlight and, unscrewing the bolts and Ralphie holding the lug nuts on the side of the road. Like that's what I grew up with. And not everybody had that growing up, right? You have um
Fair.
people who come from homes where they don't have a strong, it doesn't even have to be a strong father figure, right? Because I know some badass welder chicks, like, but they didn't have that influence. They didn't have a motivated, self-driven influence, or they come from affluence. They come from money, right? And they never saw that because they never needed to. And there's an argument that can be made, and I hit that point now where like there are certain things around the house where I'm like, I could do that, but my time is worth money and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to
And
pay somebody else because it's a better use of my time. And that sounds so self-important, but like
it's
I could do more for my household by paying somebody else to do that and me focusing on other things.
so like so that's one of the things that when I was in college, that was one of the classes. It's called opportunity cost. Like, is it worth more for you to have to learn this, buy the materials, do it yourself, or pay somebody? And I'm kind of in that same boat. Like, while I'm still in the spot where I want to do it myself, or I have to do it myself because I can't afford somebody else's labor. They're like drywall, like,
Yep.
because that landing that I have right here in my house, like it's going to save me time, money, frustration, anger, whatever, to pay somebody to do that, to put up a wall, than for me to do it myself.
Yeah.
um
There's a not to interrupt you, but there's a threshold for that, right? Because
yes.
you see a task and you're like, okay, this is something I am 100% capable of. I've done it. Your car needs its oil changed. You can pay somebody to go do it, but it's something I've done 100 times. I know how to do it. I'm comfortable with it. The materials are going to cost me less than going and paying somebody else to do it. I'll just do it. Uh, your car needs its alternator changed. Maybe you've done that before, maybe you haven't. It's a little bit more of I mean, alternator change isn't like a super advanced thing,
It's
but it's a
two
little bit
bolts.
more than an oil change. It's a little more intimidating. You got to loosen a belt on most of the cars, like um,
On all of the
and
cars,
then
that's how an
there's
alternator works.
calm down. Um, but then you've got something like a head gasket, right? Where like it's
Mhm.
going to be a lot bigger project. It's going to be something, and so like there's this build that I'm using cars because it's an example that I know you and I both can
Yeah, no,
can
I get it.
bounce off of. But it's the same way for house stuff, right? The battery in my smoke detector is dead. I can change a battery. A light bulb goes out. I can change a light bulb. Um, I have an outlet go down. How much do I trust my electrical work? How much experience do I have with electrical? Do I have the tools for whatever job I need to do? And if like again, for me, I take a lot of it for granted because growing up with the father and the grandfathers that I had, I have the tools and the knowledge to do most of it. For better or for worse, I don't call people to do shit even when I probably should. Um,
And that's, you know, because we were talking about it before we started recording here. In this case, the pool that I have in my backyard, like the weather just like jumped 20-25 degrees in the past week, and the pool went to shit.
I was gonna say every pool in the neighborhood went from blue to
Every,
green in the 3 days that it took for the weather to jump 25 degrees.
exactly. And I'm like, I am going to go buy the stuff and I'm going to do it myself. And you know how many times my wife has said, let's hire somebody. And I told her no. I was like, they're going to charge me way too much for the same shit that I just purchased that's sitting outside right now. Granted, I'm hard-headed as fuck. Like, I will be
Yeah,
the
of
first
course.
to admit it. So when this shit doesn't work that I'm doing right now to make it not green anymore, you know, my next goal is to somebody, to a
Yeah.
professional.
Well, and it's, you know, there's always, so like when I was in college, when I first moved out on my own, a lot of the time my justification for something would be, okay, I'm trying to think of an example of something, but like, you know, if there was a job that I needed to do, right? Something happened with my car, something happened with brakes. Brakes is a great example. Okay.
Yes.
So
Brakes.
I needed to change the brakes on my car. And a brake change was going to cost me like, let's say $100. Um, for the service. I'm not talking pads, I'm just talking the labor costs.
Oh, okay, okay. Not just
And
okay.
again, totally arbitrary number. I'm just throwing it out here. It was going to cost me
I'm
like
gonna say, I'm
$100
about to go hire
for
that
labor
guy.
to have somebody do my brakes. Uh, let's call it $300, right? I mean, that your pads, labor, grease, everything, $300. And I looked at that and I went, well, that's like actually a pretty fair deal, right? Because if I buy the pads, it's going to be, you know, for decent brake pads, let's call it $200. Um, so I'm paying this guy $100 to do the job. Okay, well, if I do it myself, I can save that $100 that I would be paying that person. What do I need? Okay, well, I drive a Toyota, so it has the weird TRD brakes that have the little 3 points, so you can't just use a C clamp to press your piston in after you take a pad off. You actually have to have a specialty like spread tool, it's a little like crank down wrench.
It's called a C clamp and a piece of wood. Come on, man. Get it with
Yeah, weird.
I'm kidding. I've
Weird
never done a
things. I was
Toyota.
gonna say,
I've never
well,
done a
like,
Toyota.
Toyota is really big on making really fantastic things that you either need to have them maintenance or have to buy specialty tools from them to maintenance. Anyway, but I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, how much does that tool cost? Well, that tool costs $60. Okay, so I can buy this tool and buy the brake pads and learn. I mean, I say learn. I learned how to change brakes early, but like I
get
can
it.
change these myself. And then I can walk away with $40 in my pocket that I wouldn't have had, a skill that I may or may not have had before I did the job, and a tool. So next time I'm walking away with $100 in my pocket. And that's how I would justify it is if the cost of buying the tool and having that tool forever and like getting a nice tool, right? I'm not talking like going down to Harbor Freight and getting the base cheapest thing I could buy, getting an actual like nice name brand lifetime tool that I can hang on to for the rest of my life. If the cost of the tool is less than the cost of paying somebody to do it, well, then I'm going to do it myself because then the next time it's going to be even cheaper.
So the average car owner, such as yourself, that makes sense. Because I have done if I buy this tool, I can resell this tool and it's still cheaper. Let me tell you how many tools I still own that I've never resold, cars that I don't own anymore.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is, and I think that's why I'm so adamant about learning shit. I will be on YouTube constantly. How can I do this? How can I do that? Because I want to learn that skill. I want to learn something else because guess what? A lot of the hands-on shit, it's a dying art. How many car guys do you know anymore?
Yeah.
Like, and I know we're using the car example quite heavily right now, but like,
yeah, but I mean, you can use it for anything, right? Like, my toilet in the guest bathroom has had 3 or 4 issues in the last year, right? The flapper went out, the flush went bad, and we had a drain clog issue, like a plumbing line issue, right? Not like a get a plunger, but like full on drain auger. And like that's all easy stuff for me, right? Like the flapper stopped working and Emily was like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And I was like, "Go to Lowe's, it's $10 for a new one, and it'll take me like 20 seconds to throw it in." Like,
Yeah. So
you know,
and I'm like, oh, it's
but
super easy.
again, because she didn't grow up with that, it was, she doesn't know, right? That could be a buy a whole new fucking $1,000 toilet conversation. You don't know what you don't know. And so, but those guys don't, like, guys who do their own plumbing work, guys who, again, man, like, I know people, it's a ridiculous example, but like, I know people who call their landlord to change light bulbs when they go out.
Dude,
Um,
that's so crazy to me. And like, see, I didn't grow up in a blue collar family. My parents owned their own business, but like, I think it was my want to learn. And also I was poor once. I've always been poor, but like once I graduated high school, my
Yeah.
parents weren't there for me. So like I had to learn these skills anyways, on top of being poor. And like, I think that's kind of stuck with me. Is I want to learn something and now I want to pass this on to my kids. I want them to be so self-reliant. They're either going to call dad or they're going to know their own shit.
yeah,
And a
no,
lot of
totally.
things like either, and if I do call somebody, you can bet your ass I've already tried it myself. Like the example I use is drywall. I tried drywall. I am the world's a blind person could do better than me. I am the world's worst person at drywall, mudding, taping, any of that shit. I will not do ever again because I've tried it and I sucked at it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that's something that you learn too, right? Is hey, maybe and if you come from a blue collar background, or if you work in a blue collar field, well, if you work in a construction field, you understand, like, um most people aren't handymen, most people aren't jack of all trades, right? They specialize in an area, right? You're a carpenter, you're a drywaller, you're an engineer, you're an electrician. um Maybe you're super comfortable doing electrical work, right? An outlet goes out, you know what to do.
oh yeah,
You've handled it 101 times. You
I've
have
got
a circuit that you need to add or whatever. Like, um
speaking of
Derek
outlets,
goes under his desk.
I have a
Nice.
whole roll of Romex right here because I have had to add outlets
Yep.
to my house recently.
Well, and that's, I mean, so like, and I'm just using that as an example, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're comfortable with electrical, but you know that that you're not good. You are not, your area of expertise is not drywall, right?
yeah.
So maybe you decide, when the next drywall project comes up, right? Punch a hole in the door, or like a door punches a hole in the wall.
I was like, damn.
Just
All right,
Kyle out on your whole house.
Kyle.
No, like, if your doorknob punches a hole in the drywall and you need to patch it, maybe you take that opportunity to learn and get better at drywalling. Or maybe you say, fuck this, I've tried drywalling before, I'm not very good at it, I'm going to hire somebody who knows what they're doing, because they're going to take
or
care of it and get it done.
or because hold on. For those of
As
you
Derek pulls out his drywall knife, and there you go.
my
Yeah,
patch kit, because there's
there
a
you go.
hole in the wall under my desk for another outlet I was supposed to do, and I'm next to a pipe that I did not know was there.
Classic.
But yeah, no, I get what
But
you're
yeah,
saying.
so I mean, it's that, like, everybody has their own threshold for that, and their own, you'll figure it out. But being a dad is expensive.
Yes.
Living is expensive in this world that we live in, but like, being a dad is expensive. And so if you can learn a skill that you can pass on to your kid and save some money in the process, I mean, that's best case scenario, man. Like,
And so I want to go on the low end of the spectrum. Like, it doesn't even have to be a skill that you can pass on. Like, I got a kegerator downstairs that I got on Facebook Marketplace for dirt cheap. Like, and I was like, I just want to learn how this shit works, and I want to just make it my own. And I did it. If you just want to do it just because it's fun, fucking do it. Like, obviously, talk to your significant other. Make sure you're not going to go into the red. But like, try
on
something
money or
new.
time.
Money or time. Like, obviously, eventually, I gave up on the like super cheap one because it was actually broken. But I wanted to learn something new, and now I'm sitting here playing with kegerators because why not? I drink anyways. Those of you watching, I'm always drinking something. Usually it's a beer, because it was fun. Like, have fun with life. It doesn't always have to be, to earn a living, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know, I would still say, even if you're not necessarily passing on that skill directly, you can pass on that love of fun, that joy that you get to have doing that thing. Because I know, like, and I know we've talked about it a little bit. I feel like we've probably talked about it on the podcast. I know you and I have talked about it personally. That like, um, sometimes like your kids can have a great time being in the garage with you working on stuff, right? Sometimes it's wild and frustrating because they won't put your tools back or they're spilling shit all over the garage or whatever. But like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you can have a good like father son father daughter moment with your kid, just sharing that experience of figuring something out together, even if they're 2 years old and they're not going to retain that skill and hold on to it. Um, you know,
Like,
Alana loves holding the flashlight while I work on things. And usually she's waving it around like this when I need it pointed over there. And I've got another flashlight that I'm actually doing the job with, but she likes being near me and holding a flashlight while I'm doing something.
and I'll say like
Great, great dad moments, right?
dads love, so a lot of dads love their lawns. Like Lucas is my lawnmower because, going back to another episode, like we earn our electronics, so he mows the lawn when it gets tall. And he's learning that love. And it's not going to, he's not going to start a lawn business. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's going to, he understands, like, I like these stripes. I like the uniformity of each layer. Like, cool. Like I have taught him something that he can now use. And it's fun because anytime you drive by a good lawn, what do you say? Man, that's a nice lawn.
Wow, that guy probably pays way too much on his water bill. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a nice lawn. That's totally what I think.
Or if I walk by one, I'm like, I'm gonna touch this grass right here.
Yeah,
I've
man.
touched a lot of lawns.
I'm not a lawn guy, but I don't judge other people for being into it. Um,
I want good grass. I don't have the fucking patience for good grass. Like, I'll let that shit grow into a jungle before I
Man,
do
I'd
anything.
rather I'm a filthy cottage witch, so I want as many weeds and biodiversity and craziness in my yard. Like
Yes.
if my lawn could just be, I mean my lawn isn't. I have rocks in my front yard. I have zero
Man,
scape,
they have
right?
zero escape.
And like if you yeah, you've seen my backyard, it's mostly like aloe or mallow and dandelions and clover and bullshit. Like I don't have nice, beautiful green lawn in my backyard, because one, it's way too much work, um, and two, it's more fun to have more interesting plants.
Until you want to go out there and there's bees everywhere.
Ah, man, these are our friends.
No, I mean, yeah, that's
I'm
what I'm
only
trying to teach.
minorly allergic to them. It's
Oh, mildly. You just need that EpiPen to keep you going.
a just in case.
But like,
So what are things? I mean, like, so we talked about like actually we talked about that before we started recording. When your pool pump went out, you called the guy because it was wild, right? It was a whole thing.
but again, the only reason I called the guy is because the type of fitting that I needed for the pump to the inlet piping
Mhm.
doesn't exist. So I had to call the guy. Thankfully, I did, which, if y'all ever buy any kind of expensive, obviously relative air quotes here, piece of equipment, call to make sure that you will not void the warranty installing it yourself. Because
Yep.
he told me that had I installed it myself, I would have voided the warranty. Thank
Nice.
God it did not go together how I needed it to.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I did try it first myself because I'm so, like I said, so hard-headed. I'm gonna do it myself and I'm gonna do it right. Nobody can tell me no.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I struggle with is always like if it's something that I've never done before, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that I've either done or I've done something that's adjacent to. But if something comes up that's truly like first time, like I'm gonna have to spend some time on YouTube learning this skill, right? I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this repair or whatever it is. Um, I always kind of have this like mental checklist of like, is this something that I want to know how to do, right? Because I crave knowledge just generally,
Yeah.
but
You and
there's
I
some
both.
things that I truly have no interest in. And like, so check number one, which is usually a yes, is this a skill that I would like to have? Is this knowledge that I want to learn? Okay, sure. how long is it going to take? And do I have that time or can I make that time? Right. Because there are some projects that like, I'm a full-time dad. I work a full-time job. I have 900 hobbies. I'm running this podcast. Like I have a lot of shit on my plate. I don't always have time to invest in an 8-hour project that's going to take me 8 straight hours of hands-on to fix whatever the problem is, right? I may literally just not have that time. And if it's something that I need to be done in the next week because it's a critical, the gas line's not working or the water line's out or whatever, like I don't have that time. Somebody else has that time. I'll pay for their time because their time is worthy of money. And my time is worthy of money, and I don't have enough of it to keep making the money that I'm making with my time. So like, do I want this knowledge? Do I have the time? And then like genuinely, and this is the thing that I struggle with because I'm hard-headed like you, what is my success rate of doing this myself? If it costs me 50% less to do it myself than to hire somebody, I can fail twice before it's going to cost me more than if I just paid somebody else the first time. If that threshold is I can't afford to fuck this up, maybe I pay somebody else and I ask him if it's cool if I watch and I get the knowledge that way because I would rather pay somebody who's an expert to do it right the first time. And if they fuck it up, I don't have to pay twice, right? Like that's on them.
Exactly.
Because you're paying for an expert to do a thing, and so like that is a struggle that I have a lot because I was kind of raised with a like if something goes wrong, you just handle it. Like you take care of it. And if you don't know how to do it, you figure it out. And the two things that I really struggled to learn was admitting that I don't know how to do something and asking for help for it, or like asking how to do it. And then the continuation of that, which is recognizing that and not trying to do it anyway.
Yeah, my biggest problem is not trying to do it anyways because I'm still fucking trying to do it. But going back to your example of head gasket, like as a car guy, I'll fix whatever. But like, I own a Subaru. What are they known for? Fucking head gaskets. Mine goes out. You think my ass is gonna be pulling that engine? No. Like, but an electrical outlet. I wanted to route in my house in Georgia. I wanted to hide the cables. I wanted a clean look on the TV. Like, obviously, it's going to be a lot cheaper for me to learn how to run a little bit of Romex versus sending an electrician out there and him charging me. I don't even know. I don't hire electricians. I do it myself. $300-400. Like,
and again, you can learn the skill and buy the equipment, and then you have the snakes or whatever setup you end up going with to run wire yourself. And so
I'm not kidding. Like I
like
have a whole
the hardware store parts bin that you're sitting on in your gamer chair here.
Hold on. I got a packet of different type of nuts here, or what are these called? Wire connectors here too.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like nuts, like Blue Diamond almonds, like.
Yes, blue. I got a whole pack of them. No, I don't have those. Those are delicious though. The smokehouse ones, my favorite. No, but like and you and I are probably very similar. When we find something that we want to learn, we overinvest in it.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I have this whole wire connector thing that I spent $10 on, these super cool nifty ones. This thing of Romex that I may never use most of, but now I know that if I need to run another outlet somewhere, I have learned that skill and I am capable of doing it, and I know I can do it well and I can do it safely. That is the other thing, doing it safely.
Yeah. Well, and that's again, I'm always hungry for knowledge, right? I always want to know, I always want to learn. And so I have just kind of become a jack of all trades based off of that, right?
Same.
I always want to learn how to do the thing. I always want to know how to do the thing. Oh man, I wish I could remember his name. The founder of Patagonia, the clothing brand company, the outdoor company, Patagonia. The founder coined the term 95%er. He considered himself a 95%er because he thought that the term jack of all trades was kind of offensive because everybody always says, what is it? Jack of all trades?
Or master of none. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none. And he was like, well, I don't want to be a master of nothing. Right. But it takes a lot to be 100% good at something. Like
Yes.
a master electrician is 100% good at electrical work. A master carpenter is 100% good with carpentry. Um, I don't need to be 100% good at something, right? I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it even necessarily really as a hobby. I'm doing it because I want to know how to do it and I want to do it the best, but I don't necessarily want to be a professional at it. So I'm going to learn and I'm going to be 95% good at it. And then that last 5% is the hardest piece to get because that's your, fucking 10,000 hours of experience to really get mastery over something. I'm going to leave that for the experts, but I'm going to be 95% good at everything I can be.
No, and I feel like you and I have had to talk about this one before too, because like again, you and I know a lot of shit. Like
Yeah.
a
Some of it
lot
more
of
useful
shit.
than others.
Fair. But there are times when I will throw in the towel. Like I know when I have been defeated. I know when I will be defeated before I even start. And it is that 5%. Um I I took the time to learn. Sometimes taking the hour or two out of your time to see if you're good at it or not is worth the whole thing. Just
Yeah.
give it a shot. Electrical, plumbing, whatever, look into that shit. Like I have put my own tires on rims before. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Take it to the tire shop.
yeah, it's a great example of
um,
something to have other people do.
yes, because they will do it in 30 seconds flat, and it took me almost exploding my damn heart and calling a buddy of mine who weighed about 100 pounds more than me to do it. Um, but I wanted to do it, and now I know I'm never doing that shit again. Just take that risk, and and understand that failure happens, and it's okay. Like nobody's gonna judge you
Yeah,
if you have failed at something, but you took. I'm gonna respect you more if you attempted it and failed than if you never attempted it at all.
totally. So quick pop quiz, if you will.
I
What are
failed.
some things that you think not so we already talked about cars, right? Know how to change your oil, know how to change your tires. Um, I would say within that, under oil change, you should know how to change your oil filter, not just
Yes.
drain and refill your oil. I think you should know at least how to top off your radiator. Um,
Yes.
Depending on your car, knowing how to flush your radiator can be really complicated.
Yeah, that
Well, it can be
especially with
more
new cars.
complicated. So
With
that's a
newer
borderline.
cars, it is more complicated.
But I think you should at least know how to fill your radiator. Uh, you should know how to change your air filter because on most of them, it's literally opening a box, throwing a thing away, and putting a new one in.
Yep.
Um, and that's I think that's like car basics. What do you think some house basics are? Um, to start, I'll say like minimum, I think you should know how to change the batteries in your smoke detector because you should
Yep.
do that every year. You should know how to change a fucking light bulb. Again, no offense to
Obviously.
my friends who call their landlords. Um, you should know how to change the air filter for your AC unit.
Yeah.
Uh, like what else? What do you think are some basic dad tasks around the house that you would consider? And again, this varies from person to person, right? But
It does. And I would say know how to use a stud finder for actually installing something.
found him.
Thanks, Dad.
For our listeners, I just pointed at myself because this is a dad podcast and Derek said stud finder.
No, but using a stud finder to be able to install something securely. Because we have a shoe thing downstairs you buy from IKEA. It doesn't come with drywall anchors. My Noah pulled that down on himself the other day because I was like, it's good enough because that was just me being lazy. Son, I'm sorry.
Hey, also, pro tip, if you have a toddler and understand what toddler strength is, drywall anchors only go so far too. Those things rip out of the wall. You need to know how to find studs.
You need to know how to find studs, or if you buy drywall anchors, buy the ones that clamp to the drywall.
Yeah.
Like so, I've had to go buy a thing. So it's using a stud finder, that is a big thing because you already hit on the biggest three. Um, Electrical, to me, installing an outlet super easy. Obviously, you can set your house on fire, so
everybody's gonna have
Maybe
their own.
not.
Everybody's gonna have their own comfort level with it when it comes to electrical because I think, and I mean, I think it's pretty universal. Electrical is the scariest trade because you can kill yourself the easiest and you can create house fires the easiest with electrical. Like if you fuck up drywall, it's going to be ugly. If you fuck up electrical, you could burn your house down.
Yeah. Um, I want to say like I said, the biggest thing is learning to find a stud, learning drywall anchors, like good ones, not when you buy a piece of furniture and it comes with those flimsy little plastic things. I have some sitting around here, so I'm looking around, but um upgrade those, please upgrade those. I'm trying to think what else? Simple because I have to do it on my own on my sink downstairs. Learning the was it faucets, your sink faucet, your shower faucet, learning how to remove the cartridges, all that kind of thing. It
Oh,
is
the
a
actual like the control valves on them.
the exactly it.
Yeah.
We moved in and the cold water in April sink in our master bathroom, it leaks. I could either buy a $200 faucet or I could buy a $15 cartridge. Learn that skill. Like you will save so much time and money. I think it's a 10-minute job.
Yep.
Versus buying caulking, buying the faucet, buying whatever else, and then learning all that. Like these are all small skills you should learn for your household. Know how to use Teflon tape. I will tell you, when I was younger, I was like, what do I need this shit for? Let me tell you how many leaks I had because I thought Teflon tape was stupid or I didn't use it correctly. Learn how to use Teflon tape in plumbing. For those of you
Well,
who
and I
have
think
no idea what Teflon tape is.
to just dive into plumbing, I think toilets are a common household problem that are almost always an easy fix. If you have some of the more modern toilets that have like a two-button flush, sometimes they're a center cylinder and it's a lot more complicated. But for the most part, I would say 90% of the toilets in America are basically three components. There's the toilet itself, there's the flush, there's the fill, and there's the handle, which controls the flush and the fill. Uh, take the lid off of your toilet tank, look at it, watch a YouTube video, understand what the parts of a toilet do, and you'll probably never need to call a plumber for toilet issues
Or
unless your toddler like flushes 20 Hot Wheels and you have to like call out a contractor grade person with an auger as big as my arm to clear out a pipe.
or you don't even have to watch YouTube. Like I learned toilets by taking the lid off and flushing the toilet and just watching it. Like it's really simple. Like
Yeah.
you can't fuck it. I mean you can, but like if you just look at it and you flush 2 or 3 times, you understand it. Also, speaking of toilets, not all clogs go away in 2 minutes. I have sat there for probably 10 minutes with a plunger, which by the correct plunger, the ones that we think we need are sink plungers, not toilet plungers. There is a difference.
Yeah, you want that flanged recurve base on your toilet plunger. Those flat ones that look like a suction cup that Donald Duck would climb up a building with. Those aren't what you use on the toilet, friend.
No, those are sink plungers. I have sat there for 10 minutes plunging a toilet, thinking, "Oh God, I have to call a plumber," and I just kept going at it, thinking, "I'm not about to call a fucking plumber." Just in time for it to clear itself out. Like, give it time. If it takes you 20 minutes, if it takes you 15 minutes, start really thinking about it. If it takes you 20 minutes, dial a plumber.
Yeah. Well, and hey, as somebody who's dealt with toilet issues recently, take a look at what a plumber costs versus what buying an auger costs, because a drain auger only costs you about $20 these days, and a plumber is going to run you a lot more than that. So maybe you make that $20 call before you make the $100 call.
Or renting one, because there are a lot of places that you can rent tools at. Look into that.
That's a great tip. Hey, if you need basically any automotive tool, places like AutoZone and O'Reilly's and I think Pep Boys, I don't know if Napa does, I'm sure they do. Most auto parts dealers will rent you most of the tools that you need, whether it's an OBD to check your codes, or the brake piece that I mentioned, the brake caliber piston, like
Presser downer.
presser down, the glorified C clamp and a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Like you can rent those for free from auto parts shops, and what they do is they charge you for the tool.
I was gonna say
And
it is not for free, because I had tried renting before, and they said, I think it was a harmonic balancer thing, and they say we are going to charge you the $100, but when you return it, you get it back. Yes, it is a specialty
Yes.
tool. I don't want any of our listeners to be misled on that one.
Yes, it is. So it is not free per se. But you basically buy the tool and it's a free return, and you can use it. Like, that's the intention, right? Is you
Yes.
can borrow that tool. You have to pay the cost of the tool up front, because if you don't return it, that business wants their money. But you can borrow a tool. Also, ask your other dad friends. Like, Derek texts me all the time, "Hey, do you have a XYZ?"
Yes.
Like, and because Derek knows I'm the tool dad and I have most things, whether I need them or not. Um, and but there's a lot of ways to save yourself, and that's really the whole point of this, right? Is one, it's personal ownership, right? It's investment in your house, investment in your life, and investment in yourself to learn these skills and be able to handle things yourself. But the other side of that is, it's so much cheaper. You're going to save yourself so much money and so much heartache, paying somebody else to come in. And depending on who you are, you don't have to deal with other people. That's always my thing.
Yeah.
Is like, do I, like, with our last house, when we had issues, we knew that the landlord that we were renting from, his handyman, was this gnarly, like, 80-year-old smoker who, when we called him, it would take him a week to come out. He would come out, smoke half a pack of Marlboro Reds, staring at whatever was broken, leave, come back 2 days later, smoke the other half a pack of Marlboro Reds while he fixed the thing. And, like, especially while I was working, this was back when I was working in an office full time. So that means that some strange random dude is going to be in the house with my wife, and at the time I didn't have a kid, but potentially wife and kid, fucking smoking cigarettes, making a mess, probably fucking the job up. When, yeah, could I do that for free if I called my landlord versus paying the $20 to buy the parts myself and do it myself? Yeah. Is that $20 worth not having Emily put up with some nasty old weird dude smoking in the house? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like it's my wife knows that if she needs something, like, she can rely on me. Like, become
Yeah.
that person that your significant other, I say wife, but like significant other can rely on. Like, you need a light, an actual light changed. It's actually a lot more. It is about four screws and 3 wires.
Yeah.
Turn off the electrical.
Turn off your breakers. Hey, buy a voltage meter. Buy a non-contact voltage meter or a multimeter, and double check your electrical before you touch anything. Even if you have grounding wires and insulated screwdrivers and rubber gloves and boots.
I'm knocking
like,
on wood here. When it comes to changing lights, I have not shut off a light. Like, I turned the light switch off. But
this is why we have a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. Don't do what Derek does.
but because I have done enough of them,
Yeah,
that I understand.
You know how not to
kill
yourself.
It was a skill I wanted to learn, so I did. So now my wife's like, "Hey, I want to change out this. Hey, guess what? Okay, honey, I got you. It's a lot cheaper than you buying the $100 and $200. I don't even know how much light fixtures cost anymore. You want a bigger fan? I got you, babe. Except when it comes to my ceiling, my living room fan, as you have seen, it's got about a 10-foot dowel on it. I'm hiring somebody for that shit. I'm scared of heights."
No, and this, like, we've talked about a lot of different stuff. Let us know if you, obviously, like, it's not our normal content flow, right? And it wouldn't be something that was like a full episode for us. But we've got a TikTok account that none of you follow. We've got an Instagram account that like half of you follow. We do YouTube shorts very infrequently. If you want us to
we
put
will
out,
get better at those.
we will get better at that. We're trying, promise. Again, we're full-time dads, man. It takes a lot of time. But if you want to, if you have any questions about this stuff, we'll do some DIY how-tos, right? I mean, like, I'll go over and film Derek doing an oil change if you guys want to see how to change oil, or we'll change the tire on one of our cars, or plumb a toilet, or whatever.
I will take this damn ceiling fan out just to show you how easy it actually is. Like, but you laugh, but like honestly, like
No,
how
100%,
easy
man.
in any of this is. Like we have, society has overcomplicated things, but like at the end of the day, it's all very easy. And if you want us to show you, like we will show you. We will make a 15-minute clip, 10-minute clip, whatever it is, so that you will feel comfortable saying, hey, these average guys that I watch or I listen to, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. So comment down below. Let us know if that's something that you'd be interested in. We can definitely put together some shorter content, some how-to DIY stuff. Because again, not everybody has the background that Derek and I have of growing up working on cars, or working with carpenters and contractors and engineers and stuff. That maybe I can be your dad. We can show you how to do those things that you didn't learn growing up.
Thanks, Dad. I've always wanted one of those.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us this week. We always appreciate you coming and listening to the show, or watching the show, however you consume our content. We appreciate it. Like this video, share it with your friends. If you're listening on a podcast, please turn on your downloads, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcatcher you prefer listening to. Those ratings really do go a long way to help us reach more people, and help more dads be more comfortable fucking up their own home projects.
Yes.
Until next week, I'm Andrew Goody.
And I'm Derek Mata.
And we are proud of you.